Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. We have another excellent show with another excellent guest. We don't want to waste a single minute, so let's jump right into it. Juliana, start us up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Do the Titans have a miracle left in them in what has been a magical season to this point? Going to be fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Pitches it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50.
He's got it.
40.
He's got it.
20. 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast. It's gonna be sick.
What a great way to start the show, considering we are at the anniversary of the Music City Miracle. So what a wonderful way to do our intro. Of course, it's the way it's been for a while, and it will be that way for a while until maybe we have a quarterback where we can throw him back in the intro. But welcome back again, guys. Another episode of the Sick Podcast Talk Titans, joined always by my counterpart, Jarett. I'm very upset I wasn't here last night, but thank God we have another excellent guest where we can pick her brain on some of the things that are going on. So I don't want to waste a second. Let's bring Miss Kayla Anderson in. Of course, you guys all know Kayla. She's weekdays from 6 to 10 on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Kayla, how are you today?
Hey guys, I'm doing well, and I like to be transparent, unlike a lot of other, organizations and stuff. So I actually forgot that I had this today because it's been so crazy this week with all the breaking news. So I just told you guys, I was like, I completely forgot. So thanks for reminding me. It's not like you're an afterthought. I always love coming on the show, but this is what happens in real time. But I'm very proud of myself that I actually admitted it and told the truth. So
absolutely. And we wouldn't mind if you lied to us. The fact that you're still here is all that matters. So since I wasn't on last night, I'm going to take this. I'm sure Jarett will be okay. I'll take the first question for you, Kayla. Without going too in depth on the people that made these accusations, there are some people that are in your field that had some things to say about Ran Carthon upon his departure. And there were some, fingers pointing at him that he might have been a little bit lazy. He might have been a little bit disconnected from, the real bullet points of his position. Obviously, Kayla, you are around this organization a whole hell of a lot, and we aren't at all for that matter. So my question to you is, did you see anything at all to the effect of, this guy maybe not taking his job as seriously as ownership would have hoped when bringing him in a couple years ago?
Yeah, absolutely not. And I actually feel like whoever was the person who gave this information to Paul Kaharski, and he has to report it, but whoever gave that information, that is very dangerous territory in my eyes. If you are going to make those accusations, you damn well better show your face or present your name. Because to me, that's hiding behind a mask, and you are covering up for something to make yourself and the organization look good, because obviously people are pissed about this firing. I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard that much backlash from the Titans community in 24 hours. And so, of course, they're trying to do damage control, but that is not how you do it. You don't go send somebody out there to give a reporter that type of information that can be so damning, not only to him here, but to his future in terms of his career. And so I will say this, in terms of me being around the organization with him the last 2 years, I've never seen something like that. I've seen him at every practice. He's out there always talking with the players and the coaches. I actually knew people from the San Francisco 49ers organization. I knew actually the team reporter who works with them on a daily basis. She actually raved about Ran when he came here and said, you guys are getting a good one. The San Francisco 49ers, should I say more about how they run their front office? And we were worried about Ran being lazy. What? Just now that he's 2 years into his career here, when he knows, everything's on the line, that the pressure is on to win and get things together. And then he's going to choose to be lazy. I don't buy any of that crap. And again, I think that's dangerous territory for whoever said that and gave that information out.
It really is dangerous territory because of the simple fact of now Ran Carthon, it's a record-driven league. He's not in 25. But to me, if you're looking at it as a fan and you're a reporter of this team, he inherited a shit roster. I know you got the nickname last time you were on the podcast, a petite sailor, so you appreciate us, doing, saying what we want to say on here. So Ran Carthon inherited a shit roster from John Robinson, but he brought in a plethora of guys. Like I said, I mentioned it to Kevin Dyson yesterday. He brought in the Tony Pollards. He brought in Cushenberry. He brought in Ernest Jones. He traded for Snead. He put the Band-Aids on some of the holes, so he's not at fault for doing that. And they drafted, two decent guys. Now we think on the left-hand side of the line, brought Cushenberry in, and still you can't fix everything. Rome's not fixed in one day, right? There's a glaring need at right tackle. There's edge. That's a problem still. So, I mean, Amy and the franchise, whether it's Brinker or Amy or these yes men that are reporting to Amy, right? They need to start realizing that you can't build a team within 1 to 2 years, and then a turnover happens again, okay? It's happened to John Robinson, hired, fired. Mike Vrabel, hired, fired. They're talking about this more collaborative effort. How can you be collaborative with a GM and a new head coach, and you're just going to fire the guy? What does it say for a new GM coming in now? And especially with the snake that's in the Titans organization, how does that feel for a new GM coming in?
That's what's wild. Is that even a GM?
That's what I'm saying. It's a yes man.
In my eyes, then, if you are Xing out Ran and saying that he's not done good enough job here, and Chad now is in charge of everything in terms of final say in the roster, everything, then why isn't Chad the GM?
Yeah.
That makes me think then that whoever comes in is going to be the fall guy again. And we haven't even noted Brian Callahan's job security, which I don't feel too sure about at all, because here was my big point that I've been making all week long, even before Ran was fired. I said, I actually was fine with keeping everybody in place for one more year to see the improvement if it were to be, because you could get another draft class in here. You could try to find your quarterback if you want to go that way in the draft, or make decisions to bring in somebody to bridge, right? And see if you can get better. My thing is, if you were going to fire him because of results driven with 3 wins and 14 losses, then cut the damn snake off the head. Because what you just labeled there is what I've been saying all week long, is there's an attachment to every single GM and coach going all the way back to John Robinson. And you're letting things just hang on the string and you're not cutting it all the way off. Then it's going to keep being a madhouse up there in terms of the front office, because you're never really going to know who is at fault for any of this each and every year unless you cut the head off the snake. And they didn't do it. Again, they decided to cut the tail off, right? And so here we are again next year. If it doesn't improve, all right, who's next up?
Exactly.
Let's take betting odds on who's going to get fired.
At this rate, it'll be Callahan.
Yeah, it's the definition of insanity.
Yep.
So my question to you, Kayla, is, I've been pretty vocal about my displeasure with the way Brian Callahan has coached his team. I'm just, watching him on the podium each and every week, and I'm not in that locker room, so I would never act as if I was. But just based on, the way he looks on the sideline, the way the players are talking after games, I'm not necessarily seeing the leadership qualities that I wanted when we first brought this guy in. With that being said, on his basically farewell presser after the season concluded, he had mentioned that he would be up to, or at least willing to, relinquish his play calling abilities on the offensive side of the ball. Now, that was a mind-blowing thing to hear from him, considering that was one of the bullet points as to why we hired him. Can you elaborate on if that's a real possibility? I'm hearing there's rumblings that might be set in stone already, that, he's going to be on the outs as far as play calling next year. And I guess my question there is, well, what exactly is he going to be bringing to the table if he's not going to be calling plays? And, what do we have to look forward to as far as Titan fans if the coach who we're going to assumingly given others a year, is going to be, doing one less thing that we brought him here to do. I mean, I think that's another bullet point of dysfunction, if you ask me. I don't know what your stance on that is.
Yeah, it's confusing because it's like I noted this on Arcade Dove this week too. It's like your dog knowing he's going to get neutered. I mean, really, it's like he doesn't want it to happen, but he knows it, and it's probably coming his way. And here's the thing: like Brian Callahan came here and took this job probably because he was told you have the ability to call the plays, to be the head coach, to manage everything. Again, maybe another one of those things where false promises are being said. And, then once you have a season like this, quickly, it's like, okay, we need to rein back a little. Here's what I don't understand yet, because when that question was asked, he quickly said, I don't want that to happen because I enjoy play calling. That's the best part of the job. This is what gets me excited about, what I do. And he then was very quick to say, too, but if it was the best for the organization, then he's obviously going to say yes, yes, yes. This was before he even met with Amy Adams Strunk, which, by the way, I still don't know if it's been confirmed that he has even officially met with her. He said he was going to meet with her later in that day after the press conference, but I've never officially seen that come out that happened. So we also haven't seen changes to his staff yet, which in my mind have to be coming at some point in terms of some sort of change. I don't think he'll lose play calling ability, you guys, this year. But what I will say is he has a lot of work to do on himself in the offseason in terms of going back, watching these games, learning how to play call in the moment, because I do think he has it in him. I really do. However, I think he was overwhelmed this year about the things that really took place when it happened in game. And I think some of the decisions he made obviously reflected that. And so I think he's a smart guy. I think he can turn it around. But if you don't prove that in the first 3 games of the season, I could either see the play calling ability taken away from him, or, we could just see Amy fire him.
Yeah, I mean, great that we're talking about this, because I've been a really big advocate since the middle of October to saying, hey, everyone's got to kind of step back on Brian Callahan. First-year head coach, first-year play caller, too. He helped out calling plays in Cincinnati. He's never called plays. So it's his first time being on the field calling plays. He used to be in the press box. Okay, sure. I said bring in somebody, just like Jim Schwartz did, to help Shane Bowen. Bring in an advocate, to help him out to call plays, a guy that's done it, and get Nick Holtz out of there. Maybe fire him or step him down to like a player personnel type of role or something, because he needs that guy in his ear besides, his buddy Nick Holtz. I'm not saying anything about him, but yeah, they never called plays before in the NFL. They could game plan. Yeah. But I see bringing somebody in there. So, I mean, that's one thing. So just to get it off of that situation, I just want to ask you to pick your brain a little bit too. This GM search, who do you see them bringing in? Who would be a good fit for that? I know that a lot of people are talking about Lions assistant GM Ray Agnew, and then Bill's director of personnel Terrence Gray as well. Do you know any of those names? You hear any about those guys?
Yeah, so I'm not super detailed on GMs. Honest to God truth, honestly, when I thought about that position in particular and who it would fit, I don't think it would fit any of the guys that, stick out to me. And again, I don't know a ton of GMs in the league. I have been an advocate of Louis Riddick getting back into general managing for a long time. I've talked to him in person. He is brilliant. He is such a brilliant football mind and just understands player personnel and everything comes along with it. There's no way in hell he would ever come here to take what I feel assistant general manager position. So Agnew. So here's what I will say about Agnew. I know there are connections to Detroit. This is what I will say. When you have upper management that has come from different places, you're always going to have certain connections in certain places. And I do think there is some Detroit kind of connection. We've had coaches go up there. There's a Green Bay connection now. Obviously, We've got Brinker. Agnew, I will say this, because of what he's been through in terms of rebuilding and some of the things he's seen in how to rebuild, from an organization was in the depths of hell. That to me would be a intriguing hire if he does everything exactly what they want him to do in terms of the interview and asking, I'm sure, the right questions back to them. Because if I am a candidate for this job, guys, I'm a little bit worried about job security.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit worried about, like, are you really selling a team atmosphere here? Because we see all the pomp and circumstance when Ran was hired and they're all on the stairwell and he's coming in and they're hugging him and all this stuff. And in just 2 short years, he's gone out the door and wipe your hands clean. Like, I don't want any of this crap of like showing that it's perfect and all this stuff. Like, tell him you're rebuilding, tell him what you expect. And then, you know, he needs to ask the tough questions too, he or her, whoever comes in, of like, am I going to have some time to actually help rebuild this? And is there going to be possibly more change here just if we go, you know, 6 and whatever next season? So I don't know exactly who fits this role, you guys, because I don't really believe it's a general manager role. I believe it's an assistant to Chad Brinker.
Yeah, and that's what I said initially when I heard this news. It would have made more sense, and at least would have given the fan base a little bit, at least peace of mind to know the totem pole by just saying, hey, listen, Chad Brinker, we have a lot of trust in his mind and what he wants to do, so we're going to make him the GM, and we're going to bring in another mind, maybe a guy that's fresh, that doesn't have a lot of, hasn't been in this position, and we can mold him maybe for the future. But the way they're wording things is just a complete word puzzle, and it doesn't make any sense. My final question for you, Kayla, and obviously it seems like maybe the most obvious one. Where do you think this team goes with that number 1 pick? I mean, there's a million people saying trade back's the option. There's a million people saying that the organization doesn't really love either of the top 2 guys. It's one. There's only one team that gets this pick every year, and it's very important. A team that has 9 wins in the last 2 seasons and has a quarterback room that's in disarray. They need to figure something out. Excuse me. What do you think? Again, we don't know who's really at the top of the chain as far as who's going to make that decision right now. But you're around still a lot of the brass there. Do you get a feel that they're leaning towards something as opposed to something else?
It's so early in the process. And I went out and just asked Callahan in his presser.
I was going to DM you when you said that, because that was a great question. I love how you guys just go right after him.
I wanted to get some feel, if I got any kind of feel for where he was going with at least the quarterback position, because we know it's a weak quarterback class, right? But they have the number 1 pick. So if you want the best available quarterback, whether you think that's Shador, whether you think that's Cam Ward, you have the ability to do that. But we don't know who the hell or what type of quarterback or what he feels like would fit his system, or if that even matters, that Brian Callahan wants, because the focus had been on Will Levis all season, right? So when he answered that, he made it clear that it is so fresh in the process and they're ready to dive in deep now with whoever is going to be doing the search with him, Chad Brinker and, you know, whatever assistant GM they hire. But I would think that if Brian Callahan really likes one of these 2 quarterbacks, you go out and you get your quarterback, because in the end, guys, Brian is the one coaching up this guy. Yes. And he takes a lot of pride in it. And he even said he's disappointed that he wasn't able to do enough with Will Levis. But I put a lot of that on Will Levis, too, because I think Will Levis is who Will Levis is. Mm-hmm. I think these 2 quarterbacks, at least at the top, have enough natural tools in the tank and enough up here. And I think they can handle like things a lot more steady at the highest level than Will Levis did. So, I almost think like you take a quarterback if that's somebody Callahan really truly feels can fit his system and run his system. If not, guys, you're probably going to trade down a bit, get some more picks, because they've made it clear, i.e. Chad Brinker, they want to build up from the draft. That has been the main thing that they've said, even going back to training camp when he sat down and talked with our show. So,
and they've never done it.
Right.
Ever.
Exactly. So if the quarterbacks don't fit them, I feel like they're going to trade down.
So you think they'll trade down? Well, this is the last question for me because I was going to ask you about the quarterback situation too. I mean, because I know you're a WSU fan as well from Cam Ward. I loved Cam Ward in Miami, even though I'm a Florida State fan. But he's killed it. Most touchdown passes in college football. He was up there for the Heisman almost. He had a great season. So for us as fans, we're desperate. We're desperate for a quarterback. Do we take that, or do we go the Justin Fields route? Do we go the Derek Carr route and a veteran quarterback who has ties to Brian Callahan? Do we take the best player available? Because I see two studs here that are can't miss prospects. It's Abdul Carter and it's Travis Hunter. So if you like those guys and you get that vet quarterback, I'm fine with a Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter because those are two positions that we need, right?
For sure.
Travis Hunter is a generational talent. He's unbelievable. And Abdul Carter's an edge. We need it.
Yeah.
So, but I could see how they want that franchise quarterback because if you swing and miss with the one pick, either trade back or you take one of those guys, you're going to be criticized for that for a very long time. So that's why this is a crucial offseason for us. Even though we have what do we have, $65 million in cap? We have the cap space around it. You either go rookie quarterback or you go vet. So I don't know where this franchise is going. This is going to be a really crazy offseason again.
Well, let me add one more wrinkle to that. Here's what I would also say. I'm also not opposed to drafting one of these quarterbacks. Again, I'm going to always go for Cam Ward because I know a lot more about him. I've also talked to his cousin Quandre Diggs that played for the Titans this past season, a lot about him as well. And you could do that, and then you have money to go get a veteran quarterback, bring in the veteran quarterback, have Will Levis in there as well, and at least you have some options to choose from throughout the season in whatever direction you want to go in.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think, unfortunately, with the temperature of the room from this fan base, they're not going to be too up for it to have a veteran come in and watch Cam Ward sit on the bench unless the team starts winning. So if that is
might not sit on the bench, you never know. You've seen it happen in all these other places. Maybe that vet starts, and 3 weeks into the season, here comes Cam Ward. We saw it with Michael Penix Jr. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My issue is I don't know how many solid veterans are going to look at this as a destination for them,
right?
Because you're of the current situation they're in. We watched it happen with Kirk Cousins. And just based on the way this franchise has been over the past few years, so desperate, for success that I think they're going to find themselves behind an 8-ball the second they step in the room. So I think that might be quite a deterrent, but time will tell. And, at the end of the day, as I said on Twitter before, you are in the room a little more than us. We're not in the room at all. I think if nothing else, we have to give Amy the benefit of the doubt. It's unfortunate, we probably all wanted it a different way, but this is where we are, and we have the number 1 overall pick. So, if we're going to screw it up, we're going to screw it up, but at least we have an opportunity to get it right. So that's all the way to look at it.
Yep, that's the way to look at it, guys, because all you can do now is move forward. And while many of us don't agree with what happened, you have to take steps to get in the right direction. And the only way you're going to do that is, like I said, move forward. So you got the number 1 pick. That's what, these Titans fans, you guys are excited about. And I would be too. This is actually exciting for me to ever remotely come close to covering a first-round pick with this franchise. So I'm up for the ride in terms of how they get there and all the things that come along with vetting and scouting. I think that that's a really fun process, and I look forward to the next few months of doing that.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to have national media talk about us without chuckling. You know what I mean? Because the only time we come up is when something embarrassing happens. So yeah, to be able to be talked about for a reason that could be positive is always good. So, Kayla, as always, we tremendously thank you for joining us. We know how busy you are, and you're obviously one of our favorite guests to have on the show. So we appreciate you taking the time out, and hopefully when we have you on next, there won't be as much turmoil, and we can start talking about positive things like, maybe a winning season. Who knows? That could be a great thing to talk about.
Appreciate you guys. Always love coming on.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Kayla.
Thank you, Kayla. Kayla Anderson, 104.5 The Zone, weekdays from 6 to 10, I believe. Is that right? I don't want to get that wrong.
Yes, they are. That's
All right.
that's Central Time too, because
That's Central Time.
I listen to them on my desk. They're right on my desk on my iPad every morning. So
yeah, Kayla's great. Really, she's the class of Titans media for sure. So we're very thankful to have her on whenever she is able to join us. So with that being said, guys, I want to touch on a little something here because I was not on last night. And
bro.
Yeah, no, it ain't gonna be a 40-minute one. Don't worry. But one thing I will say about this whole situation, the bullshit aside about whatever Paul Kaharski put on his website, that we're gonna assume that's all bullshit. Okay, we're gonna assume that's bullshit. He already said in the beginning, pretty much, that he didn't get along with him, and we know from personal experience that he's a very kind of spiteful guy in a sense. You rub him the wrong way and he doesn't mind talking negatively about you. You called me an idiot on live television or live radio once because I thought that Treylon Burks could be potentially now, mind you, in retrospect, it was foolish of me to think that, looking back on it, that maybe he could fill the shoes of AJ Brown. But we saw some signs. We thought it was
that's
possible.
our hope. That's our hope as Titan fans.
That was our hope.
What wide receivers go when you bring
exactly. But to him, any fan that has an opinion that's different than his, he's an idiot. So with all that being said, so let's remove all of that. The bottom line is this, okay? This guy came into a situation in which a team was pretty bad, on the decline. First year, did a little finagling, this, that, and the third. It wasn't what we expected. This year could not be a 3-14 year. It just couldn't. And it was. So you could have the stance that it was too soon, but you're certainly not crazy to say, all right, I understand why they did it. Okay, this was the worst possible situation. We brought in a new coach who went on record saying he came to this job because of the quarterback situation, because of the fact that he thought this place was on the right path to take the next step. And in turn, he did the exact opposite. We got worse. The quarterback got worse. The backup we brought in case things got really bad looked worse than he did in Pittsburgh. It was just everything that could go wrong. And the worst part about this, which I don't think anyone has a right to, or anyone would be wrong to disagree with, is that the coach should have went too, because it was a nightmare. If you're going to get rid of this guy, you should get rid of both of them. You shouldn't keep the coach and get rid of the GM. And another point I might add that no one's talking about, Ran Carthon traded up to get Will Levis. Okay. Now, it wasn't trading up into the top 10 to get him, but he still traded up essentially almost into the first round to get Will Levis. Okay.
Well, I'm going to stop you there before you go to your point. We don't know if it was really Ran or if it was really Brinker now. Okay. Could Brinker had that effect when they traded up? I don't know.
But if it was Brinker, then why would Amy keep him around? I mean, are they sleeping together? What would be the reason for it? It would make no sense.
He's above Ran now.
But if Brinker made all the decisions that negatively impacted the team, even if you think Amy is the worst owner in sports, it just doesn't make any logical sense to get rid of the guy to keep the guy that's making all the wrong decisions and getting rid of the guys that's beneath him. That doesn't make any sense to me. But even if it is, I don't know. I think it's safe to assume that it was Carthon that wanted Levis. And in reality, because we took Levis, we missed out on last year's quarterback class, which we had an opportunity at 7 to either potentially trade up, take Michael Penix. We didn't do any of that. We kept the quarterback who then regressed tremendously, and then that's what put us in this position. Okay? We're talking 3 straight years, right? 3 straight years in the top 10 in the draft, and it's a shit show. So, although Ran might not have been lazy, he might not have been sleeping on the plane, he might not have been doing any of this stuff that is really petty shit to say after the fact, let's be honest. He is not without any blame of where we are. And that's just the reality of it.
And that's why I brought it up to to Dyson and to Kayla, because I told you I listed the names of people that he brought in, and I listed the draft classes yesterday. He had Skoronsky, Latham, Sweat, Brownlee Jr., Spears, James Williams, Josh Wiley still in his thing, but he brought in some guys that would kind of help us. They're not blow it out of the park drafts, but last year's draft class was pretty good. All right, so I'm not saying
was
anything.
it though, Jarett? We don't know yet.
I mean, Latham is a rookie. He had a decent year. Okay, Brownlee Jr.
barely decent.
I'm just saying, like these guys, they're not John Robinson guys.
I know, but again, we just got to be real here. If you're drafted a tackle at 7 overall, he should be a Pro Bowl potential player. We're talking the top 10 in the world at football as a youth. Okay, he let up like 50 pressures last year, or whatever it was, 40. I'm not saying he can't get better and turn into a pillar of this O-line, but we can't. I mean, we can't act like he's really made any picks that are, you look at him and you go, "Hey, that guy knows how to scout."
No, of course, but it also goes to the play. Now they pick their GM. These guys are really good football players. The head coach needs to scheme them to do it. Put the players in the best position to win. Yeah. And whose fault is that now? Is it Callahan's fault? Is Rabel right the whole time? They're talking about this more collaborative. They talked about collaborative last year, and all of a sudden you got your GM out. Rabel didn't want to collaborate. Like, who's right here?
Yeah,
I think we royally fucked up with firing Rabel.
Yeah,
and I know we keep talking. That. I think we're keep going backwards. And talking in time. He's the most sought out name right now all over the market as Rabel, and Rabel's probably laughing at this at the fan base and at the ownership now that John Robinson's gone, Rabel's gone. Brian Callahan to this day, Sal, we have no idea. Kayla even said he didn't talk to Miss Amy yet. How crazy is that when you have NFL owners and come out and say on Sunday during the games and after the games and on Monday, my GM and head coach are safe or they're fired?
Yeah, I just wish she didn't put out that statement because I would still have hope that maybe she would can him too, but she already said that, she's going to. But didn't she bring up Carthon in that statement too or no? No, she didn't. Okay, well, either way, we're going to have to deal with this guy again, and it is what it is. And I'm really starting to regret, and again, people think I don't like to admit when I'm wrong. I have no issues doing it. We're still not going to forget about the fact that he condoned Todd Downing as the OC for, I don't know, about 20 games too long. So, I mean, he doesn't go without fault. But clearly, like I already stated, if I had known this is where we were headed, then, God, I would have asked for him to get a 10-year extension. You know what I mean? It's just this is just as bad as things can get. And, it's just unfortunate that we didn't have this number 1 pick last year because it could have really just changed everything. And that, again, kind of falls on the lap of Carthon because he had 3 straight years. Right? His first year, what pick we were? What Skoronsky was what?
So Skoronsky, I think, was like 7 or 10, somewhere in that realm.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking 3 straight years. I mean, 2 of his first 2 years, he had top 10 picks. Yeah. And, Skoronsky looks really good. He's gotten a lot better over the past couple seasons now. We'll see how Latham pans out.
They're young. We got to develop them and we got to retain them. Just like they keep talking about in their statements. They're young. You got to retain them so they have the cohesiveness on the offensive line, like the Lions. They're developing these guys and they have a concrete wall in front of Jared Goff. We just draft these guys and let them go. Yeah, just like Jack Conklin. Just let them go.
Let them go. And then listen. The more and more I think about it, it's just. I think they really got to go for the quarterback this year. I really do, because what people need to understand is we don't want to be in this position ever again. Okay. And if you're not in this position ever again, that clearly means you made the right choice at quarterback. Mm-hmm. But if you are going to take a back seat and try to get a bridge guy, then you're almost kind of expecting to be back because you're not going to get your Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, Daniels, go down the fucking list. Knicks, you're never going to get those guys. I mean, you can. occasionally there's a Brock Purdy in the mix, okay? Occasionally there's a guy that's drafted later in the second or third round. But most times you need to get the top 10 guys in order to build a franchise around them and be in the playoffs every single year and have a chance at a championship every single year. So are you expecting to be in this position again next year, or are you going to try to find someone like a Justin Fields that maybe has gotten a bad beat and thinks that he could be a guy to go for? He's the only name that I would honestly accept. If you're going for Derek Carr, if you're going for Kirk Cousins, if you're going for any of these guys, you're just expecting to be in the top 10 again at some point. How are you going to get your quarterback in the future? So, I mean, it's just you gotta try it. I just don't see any sense. I mean, it sucks that like there's been a lot better quarterback classes, but we just don't know. Cam Ward could be the real deal. Shedeur Sanders could be the real deal. And you're going to have your pick of whoever you want.
That's what I'm saying. So all these fans in here, they're saying that they're criticizing, hey, not a top 10 quarterback, has ever, did this, that, and the third. You can find these quarterbacks later. But if we're playing devil's advocate here, if we don't pick a Shedeur or Cam Ward or whatever with the 1 or 2, right, and we have the number 1 pick, and this guy turns out to be the next guy, we're going to be talking shit that they didn't pick them. So you have to, if you have your chance to get a franchise guy and you have that number 1 pick, you have to take a shot. And you can't fault the organization to say, hey, we found the next Patrick Mahomes, or shit, we found Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah,
you have to do it.
I said this on the radio yesterday with John Burton and Patton Cook. Shout out to the two of them. Someone's going to lose here. There's going to be a loser in this draft. It's either going to be the team that didn't offer enough to get the pick, to get one of those 2 guys, or it's going to be the team that drafted them and they wind up not being up to par. Someone's going to lose. It cannot be Tennessee.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's the only way around. It can't be them. And whoever the fuck they got to hire to make sure they don't lose, they got to hire. And that's it. And if they don't lose, we're going to be laughing at this. I still don't think Callahan is a Super Bowl caliber coach. And if we ever got there, it would be in spite of him from the quarterback play, not because of him. But with all that being said, I think we're going to find out soon enough. Now for our great sponsors at DraftKings. Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs? Are you kidding me? As most Titan fans are saying. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook. We're just trying to win a game.
That's it.
Can't do it. An official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdown is key to winning in the playoffs. And you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings. The number 1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your bets? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 6sports. That's very important, guys. Please go and do that. If you haven't already, if you don't have an account, go make one. Tell your friends, family, grandma, mailman, anyone. Make an account and use code 6sports for new customers to get a $200 bonus instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Alrighty, folks. With all that being said, we are going to wrap for this show today. We will see you guys all next week. Hope everyone has a phenomenal rest of their week. And that's it. Anything else to add, Jarett, before we skedaddle?
No, that's it. Always a great show with Kayla Anderson. We had a jam-packed week this week with Kevin Dyson and her. And like I said, the guests are going to keep coming. We have we got a lot in store this all season.
Yeah, this is going to be, we say it every year. It's the most important. I'm not going to embarrass myself anymore, okay? Because, again, if you fuck up what you have, the importance doesn't matter. So, but this is going to be a very exciting one because it will be the first time in, 9 years now that we've had the first overall pick, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do with it, hopefully sooner than later. Yeah. One thing I don't want to deal with is a draft night trade of the number 1 pick. That would be very, very annoying. If you're going to do it, give us a couple weeks to marinate it and decide who to go after. Because if you wait till the fucking night of, we're going to assume we're getting the QB or Travis. So we don't want to deal with that. But nevertheless, we're going to wrap up, guys. Hope everyone has a great rest of the week. And as always, tighten up. Juliana, you can send us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.